Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. I'm going to do an unboxing of this Keurig K Duo Essentials. Walmart's got this one on sale for 80 bucks. It's got a coffee pot and a K-cup. Okay, so it's a pretty big box. There's no seal on it or anything. Keurig always does a pretty good job of boxing their stuff up. Looks like we got some directions. So the plug has got this on, so you're gonna have to cut this off in order to use it, so that way they know if somebody's used it. Got this little device over here on the side, looks like a measuring cup. Okay, so this pot, this is the glass pot. It wanted to come with that lid. So be careful when you pull this lid off. This was kind of attached to the bottom of it. And that's glass, so that'll break. That looks like it's wrapped up pretty nice. So the coffee pot is on its side. So it might be best to just put the box on the side, and you can just kind of grab it, and it just gingerly comes right out, straight out. Nice. And there's nothing left in the box. Okay, so once it's out of the box, I've got all the tape removed. I had 8 pieces of tape. This is where the K-cups go. Looks like they got just a sticker on here. That's the coffee pot. Oh, one more piece of tape. 9 pieces of tape. Okay, I'm not sure that. It looks like it comes out, so you can just pull that out. That looks like your filter basket with a plunger on the bottom. Okay, that looks pretty standard. And you've got this drip tray. So you can take this out and put big travel mugs for your K-cup side. Okay, so getting that filter basket on and off is not the simplest. But I did notice, so you do have to so it kind of comes out and stops, but you can't get the filter basket out. You do have to go past the stop, which is just pulling it a little bit more. And then when you want to put it back in, you're just going to make sure you got it all the way up. And there's kind of a little tray that it rides on up there. Okay, so let me give you my first impression. So this handle, this is for your K, this is where the K-cups go. You know, this feels a little different than a normal Keurig machine. It feels like it works good, but you don't have that mechanism feel like you do with the other Keurigs. Maybe it's just a little smaller version of it, but looks like it takes the standard K-cup size. You got the needle down there. You got something protecting the needle here, so that's a little different. And like I said, you've got the controls look very simple. We're going to go over all the controls. Coffee pot. The coffee pot feels good. We'll see how it pours though. The reviews in the reviews, some say it doesn't pour very well. It does have a heating element, so we're going to check that, make sure that works. And it fits in there nice. So the water reservoir feels really, really plasticky. I mean, it feels well made, but it's got a really dense plasticky. I mean, I know it's supposed to be plastic, but and there's not going to be a good way of, like, I always like a handle on these or something, but I guess you're going to have to. And then when you put the water tray on, you got to make sure you get it on those grooves, so that it slides down. So this cover fits good. No cord storage, and the cord's relatively short, pretty thick. You know, overall, these Keurig machines, they're just awfully, got a heavy plastic feel to them. I mean, they look nice, but they just generally feel like a lot of plastic. You know, this, I'm not super impressed with this yet, but we'll see how it does coffee, you know. So this looks like a pretty nice measuring device for the coffee grounds. So this, it's got a little diagram down there. This is like 2 scoops, and this is 1 scoop. And it says you're going to put 1 scoop for every cup you're going to make. And this is a 12 cup coffee maker. So we, in theory, should be able to put 12 of these scoops of coffee grounds in there. But we can speed up the process by using this side, which is 2. Okay, so the directions come in that bag. Of course, they come up with some coupons. This is your warranty card. You're going to want to fill that out, mail that off. Their directions are usually very basic. They don't go into a lot of detail. Okay, so to start with, they want you to rinse the water reservoir in the back. They want you to rinse the coffee pot out with soap and water. When that's all done, then they want you to just fill it up with clean water in the reservoir. Then they want you to run fresh water through the Keurig side on the 8 ounce. And then it says this one-time single cup setup process is now complete and you're ready to brew. So that's all the cleaning you have to do. Just run, you're going to run water through the K-cup side without a K-cup in there. So it'll just be clean water coming out. So you are going to have some room. The water reservoir is on the back. You can use your spray wand to fill it up if you've got a spray wand at and it's close to the sink. But you're going to take, that's the dust cover. Then you're going to grab this. I'm going to grab it like this. We're going to take it over and we're going to fill it up. Okay, so it does have a max is 12. So this thing is kind of flimsy to carry. I mean, I think the best way to carry it is like this, but it's heavy. And you definitely don't want to carry it like this because it's, I could see where that would crack. You know, it's got that kind of, that plasticky feel that just might crack. Well, we're going to carry it like this. I want you to see, you know, I'm doing this one-handed, but I want you to see that it isn't the best. So you got to get it, find the track. Okay, so now it's in and the water's on that plunger. We'll put the dust cover back on. Okay, so one thing you have to make sure is you don't have the handle, because that can get in the way of your brewing a K-cup. So just make sure you got the handle out of the way. We're going to put a clean cup down here. Okay, so this thing does not have a power button for say. So you've got to choose what you're going to want to do first. So we're going to clean the K-cup side. So you've got, this is the K-cup side and this is the coffee pot side. So when you press these buttons, it powers it up. So let's try that out. We've got the button pressed. So I imagine it's going to... So yeah, this thing has a reservoir inside. What it's doing now is it's sucking down some water to fill up that reservoir inside. And then it's probably going to heat it up, because the only button I've pressed is this to turn it on. And it's not super loud. Okay, so before I did anything, it sucked down to the 10 cup mark. Okay, so it looks like it powered off, but we're going to press this button again. And then these are flashing. We'll press the 8 ounce. And then it should brew the water through here with no K-cup. I don't have a K-cup in here, it's just empty. So I don't know if you can see, but this is flashing green on and off. That means the heating element is heating up. So even though I've pressed the 8 ounce button, it hasn't started brewing yet or running the hot water through yet. So once the heating element gets the water heated up inside here, that's going to turn solid green, and you can hear it. It's kind of heating up the water, getting it to a boil. Then it's going to run the 8 ounces of clean water through here. So that took about 2 minutes to heat up. Now it's solid, and I can hear the pump is kicked on and we're running clean water. So this is all the cleaning you do for this side, is to run clean water through it one time. So that's how much water it used, all the way down to the 8, to run that single 8 ounce through for the first time. And there's the water it ran through. We're just going to throw that out. And what that does is, so see how there's no K-pot in here? That just kind of cleans this area with hot water. Okay, so I'm going to divide this video in two. I'm going to do the K-cup side first, and then I'll do the coffee maker side. The controls are just a little different on here, so I want to go over the K-cup side. So just a quick overview. If you're new to K-cups, here's what they look like. You can get them at Walmart. This is going to be coffee, but you're going to want to look at the directions. So for the best flavor, it says use the 8 ounce setting on your brewer. So for this pod, I'm going to make sure and use the 8 ounce. If you use the 10 ounce setting, it's just going to be a little more watered down. That's what this was designed. So it's not going to be a lot of coffee, but that's what it says. And if you look like on these generic ones, so the generic ones say 8 ounce setting. Okay, so I'm going to take my K-cup. I'm going to lift the handle. Now, be careful. There is a needle down there, and there's a needle up top that's going to pierce the top and pierce the bottom. Let the machine do all the work. Don't just set this in there. Don't push it down and try to pierce it yourself. There's enough leverage on this handle that when you bring it down, you can hear it. It pierced both of them. So now we're going to put our coffee mug underneath there. We're going to come over here. We want to make sure we hit this button. We're on the K-cup side, not the coffee pot side. So we're going to hit that, and then we're going to hit the 8 ounce. So see how that light is flashing? That means it's heating the water up. Once the water is heated up, then it's going to brew that 8 ounces through. And it doesn't take very long for it to heat up. So I've noticed this one's a little different how the water comes out. Normally they just come out as one stream, but this comes out as like 2 or 3, sometimes 4 streams, but I'm not sure if that makes a difference or not, but it's just a little different. So it brews a really quick cup of coffee. That's what Keurig's about. It's about speed and convenience. Some say the taste may not be the best, but you cannot beat the speed. Okay, so in less than a minute, you've got a cup of coffee. So we're going to check the temperature of this coffee. That's about standard. That's about 165. That's what coffee pots usually put out. And this coffee, you know, it tastes pretty good. You definitely can get a better flavor from a coffee pot side, but you know, these taste pretty good. Sometimes you do have to stir it a little bit because the more concentrated coffee might be down at the bottom, because at the end of the process it does shoot a little bit of water in there. But no, that tastes like a pretty good cup of coffee. And then cleanup is very simple. You're just going to lift this up, and then you can grab the K-cup. You know, it is a little hot, so be careful, and you can just throw it away. So just real quick, I want to show you the K-cups. It pierces the top, and then it also pierces the bottom. And I'm going to cut this bottom off and show you what's inside. So on the bottom side, I cut the bottom off. You've got this real heavy-duty plastic ring. And then you've got this filter basket that's filled with coffee grounds. So they really do fill these K-cups with a lot of coffee. You know, that smells like really good coffee. And there's the inside of it with the filter basket still. So just a quick overview of what a K-cup is. And so when you're done brewing, this thing shuts off itself when you're doing the K-cup side. And then every once in a while you can run just hot water through here to kind of cleanse this area. But that's it on the K-cup side. So when you're done brewing, this on the K-cup side, it shuts itself off automatically. So the possibilities are endless on the K-cup side. You can do mocha lattes. Now it says it has the coffee, sweetener, and the milk all in one. They taste okay. I mean, it's hard to get all of that in there. And this doesn't have the filter. That's just like a powder mix that mixes with hot water. And you can get cappuccino drink mix. And again, it says it's got with mild coffee and vanilla. So we're going to do some of those because you've got different settings. You got a 10 and a 12 ounce. So the mocha latte says you brew it at 10 ounces, or for an even richer taste, brew it at 8 ounces. So we're going to brew one of these mocha lattes at 10 ounces. Okay, so make sure you got yourself a bigger container. We're going to do a 10 ounce mocha latte. It's a donut shop. These things taste really well. Unfortunately, they just don't have quite the coffee kick. So you're going to lift this up. You're going to put the K-cup in. You're going to press it down. Now this thing doesn't power up, and it powers off right away. So by lifting this handle, it doesn't activate it or anything. So you still have to come up here and hit the K-cup side, and we're going to do a 10 ounce. Okay, so it's already heated up. The water was already heated up, so now we're going to do the mocha latte. So you can see the water is kind of clear towards the end of the process. So it is a good idea to stir these up. So these drinks taste really good. Like I said, they just don't have quite the caffeine kick that you would like. It's kind of an all-in-one. And then we're just going to lift this up and take the K-cup out. Be careful with some of these mocha latte ones. I have found that they can drip on you pretty good, but this one cleaned out pretty well. These mocha lattes, see how that was just a powder in there? And that hot water just kind of mixed that powder up and shot it out the bottom. There's no filter in or anything in there. And the cappuccino ones are exactly the same way too. So let's do a Keurig herbal tea. I've got the K-cup here. So we're just going to put it in. We're going to close it. Now we're going to do a 12 ounce just to show you how much water comes out. So be careful. Make sure you've got a big enough container. This one's barely going to fit all the 12 ounces. So we're going to come over here, press that, and the 12. Okay, so it's not letting us brew because the add water light is flashing. So we got to come over here. So even though we do have a little bit of water left, we're at the minimum mark, and it will not brew until we add more water. A little trick I just thought of is you can use this coffee pot to fill it up with water. That would be a quick and easy way, because that holds 12 cups and that holds 12. You could fill your water reservoir up with this coffee pot, as long as you're not brewing any coffee. Okay, so I've got my herbal tea in. I've got it in the K-cup side. The K-cup side's already on because I had to add that water. And I'm going to press the 12. So this is what the tea looks like coming out. And you could do this on 8 ounces, 10 ounces, or 12 ounces, just whichever you prefer. But that's going to be a really hot tea. And like I said, we're doing the full 12 ounces, so it's going to really fill this up. Yeah, so make sure you got a big enough cup. Because there's the mocha latte, there's the 10 ounces, and there's the 8 ounces. Okay, so I know what I'm missing now. So on some Keurigs, this part kind of tilts out when you lift this up. So And that's okay that it doesn't do that. But I was wondering how this seemed different, and that's how it seems different. When you lift this handle, this stays stationary, and on some, this kind of tilts. Okay, so I wanted to show you the tea bags. These are very well made too. It's got a filter with the tea in there. And that's what the K-Cup looks like on the inside with the tea. It smells really good. So one thing Keurig recommends, so I've done some flavored drinks here. They do recommend after a flavored drink is to put an empty cup down here and just don't put a K-Cup in. Just run some water, some hot water through. So we'll do a K-Cup side. We'll just do an 8 ounce. They say that cleans the needles of any of the old flavor that might still be in there. But that's a good idea if somebody's going to be drinking coffee right after you, because these teas can have some pretty strong flavors to them. Okay, so I fixed my drinks on the K-Cup side. I do want to show you one more thing. So travel mugs. So this travel mug will not fit in there until you take this drip tray out. Once you got the drip tray out, this travel mug fits. So as long as your travel mug wasn't any more than about 7 1/4 inches tall, it'll fit. Okay, so now we're going to do the coffee pot side. And it says they do want you to do a cleansing brew. So they don't want any coffee or any filter in here. Just leave that open. Make sure you've got it filled up to the max. Then we're going to come over here and hit this and hit the 12. That's just going to run a pot of clean water through the coffee maker. Okay, so we brewed our 12 cups of just fresh water through. And now we're going to dump that out and fill the reservoir back up. So do you ever wonder why coffee pots have this hinged lid? I think it's for filling up coffee pots real easy. But I'm not too impressed with this hinge lid. It's got a really small area and you can barely press it up. So with the lid hinged up, it's easier to fill up with water. Okay, so I've got this filled up to the 12 mark. And now we can fill up our water reservoir. This is a little easier than taking the water reservoir over to the sink. But you do have to have some room on the back side to be able to do this. Okay. So even though I was at the minimum mark, when I had this at the 12 cup mark, that only fills it up. That only fills it up to the 12 cup mark. So that works out really well. Okay, so let's brew a pot of coffee. We're going to do a full 12 pot cup of coffee. Now it says it takes standard 8 to 12 cup coffee filters, basket style. And then it also says it takes 1 tablespoon of coffee per cup that you're going to fix. So since we're fixing 12, we'll use 12 of these. But it does come with this handy scoop. If you lose the scoop, you'll know it's just 1 tablespoon. But like I said, this side is 1 and this side is 2. So this will go a little quicker using this side. I'll just need 6 of these scoops. So when you're getting the coffee filters out, make sure you get just 1. It can be real easy to get a couple coffee filters and it won't drain through the coffee filter right. So just make sure you get 1. A trick I found is if you blow on the edge, it separates them and you can grab just 1. So we're going to open this up. And I think you do have to take it all the way out. So some coffee pots, yeah, maybe you could balance it right there on the end, but that's a pretty weak point. So I'll balance it right there. You're going to put your coffee filter in. Make sure it's hugged up against the sides, and then we're going to dump our coffee in. Like I said, it's going to go pretty quicker with this. Okay, so I've got 12 tablespoons. This is pretty strong coffee. I mean, I don't drink it this strong, but I am going to test it at its maximum capacity. So like I said, I was able to pull this out. You may want to just pull it all the way out and set it down, but it did have it does pull out enough to where you can at least put the filter in and put the coffee in without having to hold it. But like I said, that's not a real strong point. So then we're just going to slide this in. There's kind of a little catch you got to get past. It doesn't really want to just slide right in. So make sure it snaps. We've got our water in. We've got our coffee pot down here. We're going to come over here. Now we got to hit the coffee pot side. We're going to hit that button and we're going to hit to 12. I could brew 10 or 8 cups, and it would only suck down that much water, but I would have to make sure I had the right amount of coffee grounds in there. But we're going to do the full 12. I'm going to time it, and we're going to check some temperatures. So the coffee maker is not particularly loud, but you do hear water boiling in there. And you don't have that standard percolator sound like you do with some coffee makers. This has just sort of a steady water boiling in the background. And then it does start brewing the coffee right away. And you can hear a pump. There's a pump running, and it's kind of sucking the water down just a little bit at a time. So when this is done brewing, this green light turns to red, and that lets you know that it's keeping the heating plate is going to stay on the whole time that button is red. And to turn the heating element off, you've got to come over here and press that for about 4 or 5 seconds to turn that off. So if you do forget to turn the heating element off, it does shut off after 2 hours. It does have an automatic shut off feature. So that's a really nice feature, because you may forget to leave the heating element on and you don't want burnt coffee in your coffee pot. Okay, so we're just above the 6 cup mark, and it's only been about 5 minutes. So this is a little faster than a traditional coffee maker. It does have pause brewing. So when I take this coffee pot out, it's going to stop the water from coming up, because there's a little plunger that's going to come down. So then I can pour me a really quick cup of coffee. I like that it didn't drip or anything. And then when I put it back in, it continues the brew process. Okay, so it's been 9 minutes. This turned from green to red, letting me know that the warming plate is on. We're at 11 cup mark. I think there's a little bit more still to go, but that's a pretty big pot of coffee. You could be ready to go now. Okay, so we're going to see how this pours. You know, it pours pretty good. I was surprised. We're going to check the temperature. About 165. That's a really nice cup of coffee. We're going to give it a taste test. So that's a really hot cup of coffee, but it actually tastes really good. I'm really impressed with this. I'm kind of surprised actually, but it actually tastes really, really good. So this cup of coffee tastes really good. It's got kind of a bold taste to it. You do get a little bit of steam coming out of here when it's brewing, and we're going to take a look at the filter basket. Man, it did a really good job with the coffee grounds. You would be surprised at some of the coffee makers I review that the coffee grounds get way up, they start overflowing. This was 12 tablespoons. So that really gave this coffee maker a workout, and it performed really well. It's got all the coffee grounds are pretty well soaked up, good. Like I said, you do have a little bit draining out still, which, it'll drain for another 2 or 3 minutes, but after 9 minutes, you've got 11 cups of coffee ready to go. So I'm going to show you, there's the heating element, so that thing's 300 degrees. Yeah, that's really hot. And like I said, now if you want to turn that heating element off, you're going to come over here and hold this button. And see how, now that turns the heating plate off. So just to finish up with the coffee maker side, so you can brew just 10 cups or 8, but 8 cups is the smallest brew you can do. And like I said, you would just make sure you had the right amount of coffee grounds in here, but I'm just really impressed with how this coffee maker did. Now cleanup's going to be, so you're going to want to take this out, and you can take this you're going to want to take this tray over to the trash can. Now it does have that plunger on the bottom that's going to keep it from dripping as you go to the trash can. So let's go over cleanup. You've got this filter basket tray. There's the filter basket itself. And the lid. And this is the drip tray. All of this stuff can go in the dishwasher on the top rack. And then over here at the machine, like I said, you're going to want to just clean that with fresh water once in a while. Be careful of those needles. These things do come out. I'm going to do another video on how to clean these. But this is all, you can just wipe all this up. Be careful if that's hot, but that can all be wiped up. Okay, so after cleanup, one part keeps giving me a little bit of fits. So this filter tray, if you don't have this thing on there just right, like say you got it turned just a little bit, it kind of looks like it's on, but it won't go in, even though it kind of looks like it is. You got to turn it there, then it falls down even farther, and then you can slide it in. So there's that little thing there that you want to make sure. So let's go over dimensions as the last thing. So it's about 10 inches wide, and you can push it all the way up against your underneath your cabinet, but again, you still have to get to this water back here. And you know, you can still do it. So, but if you're gonna be brewing a pot of coffee, you're gonna be getting to that quite a bit. But up against a cabinet, you know, it only is 13 inches. And then you can, under a standard cabinet, yeah, you can lift it up and it's got plenty of room at the top. So it looks like you do need at least, I'd say 17 inches to the top. So one more thing I want to show you is, say somebody brewed a pot of coffee first, and see how the warming plate is on. Let's see if we can then brew a K-cup. So the warming plate's on. Let's press, so we can brew a K-cup even with the warming plate on. So that's a really good feature. So you don't have to do the K-cup first. You can brew a pot of coffee first, and then you can do the K-cup, and the coffee pot side will stay warm because this red light is on, meaning that the warming plate is on. So this thing looks really nice sitting on your countertop. So to finish up here, this thing is a very versatile machine. It is $80. It is a little expensive, but you can do mochas, teas, coffees on the single serve side. Then you can do a full pot of coffee for the person that likes just regular old coffee. And I was very impressed with the filter basket, how well it did with 12 tablespoons of coffee grounds. So this is a very nice machine, and I thought it did very well. If you could, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.